are set down for second reading. No bills have been introduced. The House comes to questions for oral answer. First question in the name of Maggie Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. What do official statistics show about progress in the government's goal of supporting new jobs and higher incomes for New Zealanders?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, first it's important to recognise that businesses create jobs and government is following supportive policy for businesses and the people who work in them so that they can invest more and create more jobs. Recent indicators confirm that the program is working. In the September quarter, 27,000 more New Zealanders had jobs than the previous quarter, and the increase in jobs over the year to September stood at 53,700. Regional employment data was moderately strong, with 8 regions having a lower unemployment rate than Auckland.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Finance. What did labour market statistics last week show with respect to overall employment levels, labour market participation rates and hours worked across the economy?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the results from the survey for September were a bit more positive than expected, although, to be fair, those expectations were pretty moderate. Employment increased by 2.4% in the year to September. The labour market participation rate, that is, the proportion of the potential workforce that regards itself as being in the labour market, increased by 0.5 percentage point from 68.6% to 68.6%, and the unemployment rate fell to 6.2%. Both the number of hours worked and the number of hours paid rose, and this is indicative of reasonably good growth for the whole economy. Wage growth accelerated more than expected, according to the quarterly employment survey. All these indicators suggest the economic recovery is gathering some momentum, and I'm pleased to say particularly in the regions and particularly in manufacturing.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
To the Minister of Finance. How does New Zealand's rate of unemployment compare with unemployment levels in other developed economies?
Honourable
Well,
Bill
Mr. Speaker,
English.
at 6.2%, it's still higher than we would like to see it, but a considerable improvement on 7.2% a year earlier. This improvement is more noteworthy given that New Zealand's labour market participation rate has increased significantly to 68.6%, which is high by world standards. In a number of other developed economies, participation rates are falling as people are discouraged from looking for work. Our unemployment rate is a bit higher than Australia's 5.7%. However, in New Zealand, now just listen to this, in New Zealand, 64.4% of the working age population is in work. In Australia, that percentage is 61.1% of the population in work. So a bigger proportion of the New Zealand population is in work than in Australia by quite some margin, and our unemployment rates are pretty similar.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
To the Minister of Finance. According to official labour market statistics, how do recent wage increases compare with movements in the cost of living?
Honourable Bill
Well,
English.
Mr. Speaker, this is particularly relevant for households who feel the pressure of rising costs, and too many New Zealand households that have had to wait a bit long for wage increases. The quarterly employment survey measure of average hourly earnings rose 2.6% in the year to September, almost double the 1.4% increase in the CPI for the same period. So average hourly earnings rose almost twice as fast as the Consumer Price Index. This is moderately helping families to get ahead of the cost of living. We'll continue to pursue policy that locks in, to the extent it can, relatively low inflation, but more importantly, policy that supports workplaces paying higher wages.
Question number 2, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker. To the Prime Minister, does he stand by his